Bitcoin wilts as Russia-Ukraine tensions push gold to an 8-month high. Bitcoin is acting more like a high-growth tech asset, one observer said. Yes, the price of Bitcoin is down, along with the stock market and everything else, except gold, it seems. Bitcoin fell over 7% to $40,500 on Thursday, registering its single largest decline since January 21st, as reports of Ukrainian forces and pro-Moscow rebels exchanging fire in eastern Ukraine saw investors ditch risky assets for safe havens like gold. Dan Eve, the price of Bitcoin is down. Now they're blaming international relations and the stock market. What do you think?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's one of these situations where something happens, like butterfly flaps its wings somewhere, and they're like, oh, that's actually caused the price of Bitcoin to go down. When the market just needed a bit of a pullback after hitting another crazy all-time high of like 69K. I mean, obviously it was a while ago now, but the main thing is that people are still building, the institutions are still coming, which is good, in some people's eyes and bad in others. But I don't know. I think the main thing is that the highlight really is that I think in the last week the Bitcoin hash rate hit an all-time high of 229 exahashes, which is pretty sick, and it's currently sat at 214. And Bitcoin difficulties at like 27.967 trillion right now. So the wheels are still turning, right? That's whilst the price goes up and down, Bitcoin just keeps on growing stronger, more secure than ever, and the infrastructure keeps on coming. So I think it's obviously what's going on in Ukraine is obviously a bit unnerving, but I always think of that I don't know if you've seen that meme. It's like it says Ukraine, no, my Ukraine. It's the one of Putin. I think that ultimately Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, and just keep on building. And that's the way to roll. Try not to think about the price, even though it's really difficult.
The miners still are mining. There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. There's no knowing where we're rowing or which way the river's flowing. It's Willy Wonka, but I had to look it up. Christian Rutzel, which way are we going? The miners are still mining, like Dan says. I agree, but also the risk off assets. People are out of risk right now. They're like, there's going to be a war in Ukraine. There's chaos in the world. I'd be happier with dollars, or as the article says, in this case, gold. Christian, is it just a risk off? People are getting out of scary assets. It's one of those things.
That could be a kind of a war situation is always bad for markets. And you could look at back how the pandemic crashed the markets very quickly. So, and then stuff that puts the kind of world economic thing out of balance always is bad for markets, and they will react. The interesting thing, I think, a little bit what is in the article is that, again, we see Bitcoin falling down and then gold is going up. So, hey, we always thought this Bitcoin was this crisis money and that will go up. So, and I think the truth is, and so to say, Bitcoin is still, there's speculation, there's hope for speculation in there. So there's hope for growth in there. Gold is very boring, basically, because there's this, it's already this fixed amount, and maybe the value goes up, but then the value just goes up because a little bit people shifting a little bit more to the security side. With Bitcoin, it's more a little bit the other side. People go into Bitcoin when they still see, oh, maybe the next year end of year it will be 100K or whatever. Then those people moving more money into Bitcoin, making smaller to midterm bets. And once we see, I think, a crisis situation and we see the stock markets going down, a lot of people that are doing bets on the side, they have to liquidate, right? So they have to, okay, I now have to pay here, and then they have to get the money out of Bitcoin. So I think this is why we really have the problem still that short term we will see Bitcoin going down in such crisis situations.
I agree. Everyone wants it to be inflation proof and really strong because there's only 21 million units. But at the same time, the way we got to 50K was by playing with Wall Street's money. And like Christian said, if you've got bets in Wall Street, they're going down, you got to cover them. You're going to sell your Bitcoin, the risk off thing, all of that. Ben, Ark, what about this inflation argument? Does this mean Bitcoin's inflationary now because it follows the stock market, or are we just in an early phase?
I mean, gold bugs, we have to think they know risk, don't they? And people who are familiar with gold, excuse me, people who are familiar with gold and are willing to go into gold, they're going to be very risk averse, and that's why the gold price is going to go up. And then the thin wedge, which can shift the price in Bitcoin trading, they treat Bitcoin more like a high risk, volatile, digital stock asset thing. But we've seen this before with other geopolitical problems, that gold has a rise, has a pump, Bitcoin goes down because it correlates with stock markets and whatever else. And then Bitcoin tends to decouple then, as people then think, oh yeah, wait there's this thing called Bitcoin. This is a good way for me to secure my funds, particularly if, I'm in a war situation and I need to move funds quickly across borders if there's some sort of conflict. That's what Bitcoin works really well for. So I think we'll see it's a temporary coupling with the stock price, and then it'll do what it's done in the past. I think it did with COVID at the beginning of COVID as well. There was kind of a bit of a dump on Bitcoin, and then it then picked up as people started to think about it as a safe haven, somewhere to put their funds, which is out of the traditional financial system, which is going to be heavily affected by these geopolitical issues. So we just got to wait it out, and then wait for that thin wedge who can influence the price to the negative. For now, we just have to wait for them to get shook out, and then just let Bitcoin then go up.
I think the most important part of investing that a lot of people forget is you have to allow time. I've been watching some CNBC or crypto NBC lately, and every day they're like, you should buy, you should sell, today you should buy, tomorrow you should sell, oh my God, tomorrow, today, tomorrow. So they're into this minute by minute thing, like they're the cable news or something. But really, a lot of them are like, I want to go long, I want to give time to this. And when you think about Bitcoin, I've heard people describe now, you just have to have a 5-year time span. If you could wait 5 years for your $1,000 or whatever you put in to come back, maybe there'll be more there. But people don't want that. They want it in 3 weeks. They want it in 2 weeks. And the more that you watch the crypto NBC, the more you watch some of these other channels, I know there's lots of YouTube that you can watch that'll tell you how to make money and how to do it tomorrow, but you should have done something different yesterday. I just think it stresses people out. It doesn't lead to wealth. I think there's a lot of other people who are like, I made my bets and I check on them every 6 months, or I check on them every year. And the part of the way they do that is they don't overbet. They don't put all their money in. They put some into some piles, some of the other piles. But if you've put all your money in and now you're checking it every day, well, again, I think we're going to lead into the next article. But first, even though I'm in Las Vegas, I did bring the Bitcoin predictor ball. So we are ready. Dan Eve, the price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower?
I'm going to go sadly lower. I think there's going to be a bit more turmoil going on, a bit more flooding, and yeah.
Negativity from Dan reading the room of the Ukraine crisis. Christian Rutzel, higher or lower?
Yeah, say a small dip lower, and then we can get up back to 40, something like that. So yeah.
Ben Ark, the war in Ukraine ruining your retirement plans?
Higher, because it's sanction resistant. So all the sanctions which would be levied against the Russians, they'll just bypass those sanctions by using Bitcoin.
Would be pretty exciting. And now to the ball. Remember, shaking it may cause bubbles. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Outlook good. Outlook good. The ball has spoken.